Over the last few weeks, I've been using the Dell XPS 14 as my main laptop, actually my main computer, to the extent that I actually cleared off my entire desk you see behind me to only use the Dell XPS 14 exclusively throughout all of my use and needs, from editing, coding, productivity, gaming, etc., everything. I have quite a few thoughts, so let's jump right in. Starting with the build, the latticeless keyboard for some may feel very cramped and there's not a lot of travel with the keys, but personally this is one of my favorite keyboards on a laptop. It's lightweight, easy to toss in a bag on the go. The 14-inch size is really the ideal laptop size, honestly, unless you just need a much larger display and don't have a monitor to dock it to. There's only 3 USB-C ports and a headphone jack, so you will need a dongle or a dock for professional workflows, but that's become more of the same across most laptops these days. The build is very reminiscent of a MacBook in many ways. It does have a few sharper edges than some may like, but the premium feel and sleek design of this has really won me over. Taking this to a coffee shop recently, I actually had someone ask me if I was using a new MacBook, funny enough. Anyways, while I've enjoyed taking the XPS out with me, I keep it primarily at my desk, clearing my desk, and working solely off this laptop has been a really freeing and productive experience. While I love my larger 32-inch OLED monitor, I've really enjoyed just immersing myself completely into the XPS. Everything's just very snappy and responsive here, even with Linux and Omarchy. It's working really well. The trackpad is, we'll touch on that in a bit actually, but the touch screen here on this nice OLED is also very responsive, very easy to use. But while I love the trackpad and the new cutouts Dell added to easily identify where the trackpad begins and ends, I absolutely hate how easily it attracts fingerprints. This thing is an absolute fingerprint nightmare. I've washed my hands as much as possible before using it. Doesn't seem to matter. I've constantly had to wipe this down, and honestly, it really kills the vibe and aesthetic of the premium feel, often leaving it looking quite gross. I'd recommend a D-brand skin or something. It's pretty bad overall. The trackpad haptics are excellent though, so I do have to give Dell credit where it's due there. It's function over form here, as the fingerprints just really bother me personally, but you won't be disappointed with the actual use of the trackpad. Easily a top 3 trackpad on any laptop for me. While I was ranting about the trackpad, you may have noticed Dell unfortunately removed the fingerprint scanner on this XPS, and you can't use the camera with, say, Omarchy, for example, to authenticate. It's password auth only, seemingly, for those curious. In terms of build quality though, Dell really brought their A game here. Of course, I'd love to see the Intel sticker omitted, some custom keycap options for those looking to ditch Windows maybe, but overall Dell delivered here, and I've been very impressed using the XPS 14 in terms of the overall build quality. The tandem OLED touch display looks so good. I've consumed a lot of media on this, YouTube or the recent The Boys finale, for example. One of the best, if not the best, OLED display on any laptop, hands down. This is just an incredible display that you will be very happy with. Now, while the Dell XPS has a beautiful OLED display and it's great for consuming content, I do have to note that the speakers aren't as immersive. The speakers are a little bit quiet for my liking, and coming from other premium laptops like, say, a MacBook, for example, you're going to definitely notice the difference in terms of the sound. Now, it doesn't sound terrible, but it is just not as good as other high-end laptops that I would have come to expect on this Dell XPS. Now, right out of the box, I installed Linux. I went with Omarchy and have been using Omarchy primarily on the Dell XPS. However, I also installed Fedora as well as Mint, both of which ran really smooth. Installing a Linux distribution of your choice is simple. Flash the distro to a USB, hold F12 on the XPS keyboard, or tap several times to boot into the installer. After using Omarchy initially, I moved to Fedora 44. Fedora installed instantly without any issues, and following the updates, it ran great on the XPS 14. With all of my quick Fedora customizations and apps, I was up and running in around 30 minutes. Then I downloaded and installed Linux Mint. Mint at initial boot didn't recognize Wi-Fi, so I USB tethered my Android phone, installed the latest updates, and Wi-Fi worked after that. The only hiccup I noticed with Mint was that Wi-Fi issue at the beginning. Everything else, much like Omarchy and Fedora, worked. With my apps and customizations on Mint, it was also under 30 minutes to get productive. Of course, going back to Omarchy after, Omarchy was installed in just over 3 minutes, and I was back up and running and productive right away. Across social media, as well as other YouTube reviews of the Dell XPS, I'm sure you've heard about the battery performance of this XPS. And I have to echo, the battery performance of the XPS is just incredible. incredible. It has to be the best battery life that I've seen really on a PC, especially a Dell, in years. What Dell and Intel have done, coupled with Intel's Panther Lake chipset, of course, is just incredible. It runs buttery smooth from a performance standpoint, but you get all day battery and then some. There were days where I would go easily 2 days without having to reach for a charger, and having my desk completely cleared with just the XPS kept it really clean with no cables at all, just a really nice working environment, and one that you don't have any battery anxiety with when you go out, maybe to a coffee shop to work, for example. It has just been a breath of fresh air to have this level of battery performance on a PC running Linux in, again, years. At least from my experience, it is very rare to find a laptop with battery performance like this. It is just under what you'll find with the higher end MacBook Pros. So again, if you're looking for the best battery performance on a laptop right now, the Dell XPS is an easy recommendation in terms of just battery performance alone. Speaking of my setup, you might notice that I'm in a new chair. This is the eWin Racing Flash XL upgraded series chair, and it's incredibly comfortable. I recently dropped a YouTube short covering the easy assembly as well as a lot of its features. Definitely check that out. I also left a link in the description if you're curious about this chair as well. Thank you again to the team at eWin for sending this out. Now back to the Dell XPS. In terms of overall performance, it is blazing fast. I haven't had any stutters, issues, or any type of lag on the Dell XPS with any distro that I've used. Gaming in Steam, really anything I've thrown at it, it has run beautifully. My export times have been great with rendering video in Kdenlive. I don't use Resolve, so I did not test Resolve on here if you're curious, but Kdenlive worked really well with really fast export times. Actually, this specific video was edited using the Dell XPS. So in terms of video editing, overall productivity, gaming, etc., anything you throw at the XPS 14, I think it's going to handle it quite well without any issues. Overall, the Dell XPS is just an awesome laptop, especially if you plan to install Linux. It is a premium MacBook-like laptop that you can easily install Linux on right out of the box, and the webcam, everything is going to work just fine, which is really great to see in a year of Linux, especially for a vast majority of distros that you can get up and running very quickly, like Omarchy, Fedora 44, etc. It's just a great time to buy a laptop and jump into Linux. Aside from the Dell XPS, I know we're eventually getting the Framework 13 Pro. I missed a lot of those initial batches, so I don't even know if I'll be able to get one or when I'll get a Framework. It looks very promising, but for today, if there's a laptop that you need to run Linux smoothly and you want the best battery life, a premium OLED display, this is the laptop to get today. Now, again, if you're looking for the Framework, or maybe you already ordered one, that's great. But for anybody looking for, again, a laptop today, I can easily recommend the Dell XPS. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I look forward to that discussion. And as always, thank you for watching. Take care and stay safe.